What's up? Happy Palm Sunday. Hope you're having a great Sunday. I've been reading the complete works of Josephus, Flavius Josephus. He was in the Roman army. He was a Jewish historian, very accurate on a lot of things. And one of his excerpts to the Greeks was about Hades and Abraham's bosom before the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus. And he was describing it to the Greeks, and it's a different way I've never heard it. It's very interesting. He talks about when people die and they perish in sin, how they would go to the depths of Hades, and there would be angels that guide them into the atmosphere of hell. And the demonic forces would take over from there, and they would leave the people there, and they would have to go to the left and into this, and then they would get choked out by the smoke, the gases, the heat, the flames, and they would be introduced to the neighborhood of hell, is how he describes it, and how awful it was, and as terrible it was, and just no love, no peace. It was so cold. Sometimes it was so hot, so much smoke, they would choke them out. The worm would never die, which the Bible talks about. Their senses would be multiplied 5,000 times over, and how it's just an awful thing. And people would scream out in torture and fear because of the images of the demonic creatures that were tormenting them. And they couldn't even look upon their faces, but they had no choice because that was going to be the eternity they had. And then he goes on to talk about to when they will be removed out of Hades to be brought up to the great white throne of judgment, to where they are judged before Christ, and Christ, or before God, will look at the books one more time and go over it and make sure their name's not in the Lamb's Book of Life. Double check it before he casts them into the lake of fire. And he mentions the lake of fire, how it's just going to be unimaginable. The human mind cannot consume or even recognize how unimaginable this will be. On the other hand of this, he talked about Abraham's bosom. Now, this is before Christ was crucified. And when people that had God in their life, like Abraham and Jonah and Ezekiel, Daniel, they went to Abraham's bosom. And when they would die, they would go down, and the angels would take them to the right and bring him into a great hall. And they would have people waiting on them. The music would be glorious. There'd be hymnals. There would be singing. They'd have a big banquet set for them. They would have food and fellowship and kick back and relax, and great scenery and great peace and sunshine, and it just warmth all the time. There was no cold. There's no hatred. There's no death, no sickness. And he said, they would remain there until, of course, when Christ died, and then he took them to heaven. And in between that, like the Bible talks about with the rich man and Lazarus, there's a great divide in there, and they could see each other and they could not see each other. After Abraham's bosom was emptied out by Christ, it talks about this in the works of Josephus. And it's so amazing how in depth it is. And to think that, people think it's just a big party when they die and say, well, I'm going to go to hell. I seen one guy yesterday say, I'm going to hell because my buddies are in hell. I can't wait to celebrate. It's not going to be a celebration, folks. It's not. So when I was reading this, it's really cool just to see the exact, it's night and day. It's black and white, the difference between hell and heaven, and how much greater it's going to be. So you guys have a good Palm Sunday. It's Holy Week starting today. You guys have a good day.